What is going on, everybody? With Ranked now on Pixelborn, it's possible to get some real testing in with the new cards, which is really sweet. And with that, I've actually had some trouble finding decks I actually like in the new format. And I had started with Ruby Amethyst, I thought that was fine. I started with Steelsong, that was fine. And then I tried the Jafar deck, and I thought the Jafar deck was also just okay. But I thought that maybe Jafar was holding the deck back, and that if we just maybe committed to being more of a blue fairy mid-range deck, that would be better. And that was finally the deck I first started having some pretty good success with. And so I'm here to share that list with you. And it's a little bit interesting, but let's just get right into it. As far as one drops, just Captain Hook and Robin Hood. These are here to control the board early and to enable Madam Mim on turn 2. Captain Hook also prevents your Mistress Me from taking damage when you use him. The two Robin Hoods here can also shift into the two big Robin Hoods. I do like Shift Robin Hood, but I was finding that there's a lot of Madame Medusas out there at this point, and I was getting my Robin Hood eaten for no value, and he is not as good as Beast Tragic Hero, and so I didn't like, I didn't think the risk was worth the reward in playing a full 4 copies of Robin Hood, so I had slowly trimmed him down to 2 and 2. Blue Fairy. This deck is really built around maximizing Blue Fairy. It was weird, when I first built this mid-range version, I wasn't playing the 4-drop Jafar to draw cards with Blue Fairy, but the more and more I've been playing with the deck, I just keep adding more copies of this 4-drop Jafar, and this card is just surprisingly good right now. A 3-4 stat line for 4 is shockingly good, and the ability to draw with Blue Fairy and when challenging things is also very nice. And of course, I've got 3 Madam Mim Snake, 4 Madam Mim Fox, just cut down to 3 Snake because I'm playing other 2-drops and, they compete for slots a little bit here. And of course, those are paired with 4 Rabbit Merlin, but only 1 Goat Merlin, and part of that is because I had to find slots for Jafar. But I have found that this Goat Merlin isn't actually as important in this format as it was in last format, if you're not an aggro deck, and this is not really an aggro deck. And the reason for that is because actually the Queen's Castle kind of takes that role of sneaking uninteractable damage through at the end of a game, so you don't necessarily need to be bouncing Merlins, but I also found you don't often have time to get a bunch of Merlin bounces in at the end of a game. Every deck is kind of slowly progressing towards 20 lore, and you're not usually that far ahead. And it doesn't do as good a job of controlling the board as something like Jafar, which also matters a lot in a world with locations. Like, you just want to have a dominant board presence so that your locations are good and your opponent's locations are bad. Then 2 copies of Maleficent, just a very all-around good card. I liked having a 3-drop that was just good on its own, whereas Fox Mim and Crab often aren't. 1 Crab just to help take out locations, take out big willpower characters, which this deck sometimes has trouble with. Down to Beast, because I've mentioned the other cards. Obviously, 4 copies of Beast Tragic Hero. Not much to say here. Draws cards, wins games. Very good. We've seen him before. 3 copies of Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell is a very good card. Obviously, much like Robin Hood, Beast, Jafar also draws cards off Blue Fairy. Pairs very well with Grab Your Sword. But I found that it's a little bit slow in this format, unfortunately. And the Tink plus Grab Your Sword play isn't as good as it was in the last format. Now, it's still very valuable. 3 is still a pretty big breakpoint, but it's not nearly the be-all, end-all breakpoint that it was against something like Ruby Amethyst in the last format. 2 Rise of Titans are in this deck, and this is just because against Ruby Amethyst, you're really weak to locations. We don't have a ton of high-strength characters. Obviously, Fox Mim very good against locations. Merlin Crab very good against locations, and Along Came Zeus also pretty good against locations, but really the rest of the deck is quite soft, and sometimes you just don't have those cards available, so having a nice cheap way to remove locations is great, and in matchups where that's not so much of a deal, you can just ink it, no problem. 3 copies of Smash. This is mostly here to remove Ursula 3-drop. Ursula is a very scary card, and you want some number of ways to just take it off the board, and so that's the Smashes here. 4 friends on the other side just to draw cards. 1, Let the Storm Rage On. I like having a one-off 3-drop removal spell that's a little bit different from Smash. This one cantrips, gets value. Sometimes it's good in spots where Smash isn't because you can sing it, and also it being able to get value is really, really nice. And then 3 Along Came Zeus. I think Along Came Zeus is in a very, very good spot in this format. It shoots so many things. It shoots Tinkerbell, it shoots Beast, it hits locations, takes out Jafar, takes out the green Relentless Beast in that combo deck. Just an all-around great card right now. And you can sing it with your 4-drops. It makes things like Rabbit Merlin and Jafar in this deck even better. Right, you play these cards, draw a card, and then the next turn you can sing Along Came Zeus, which is just amazing. Grab your sword as a sweeper, and then the Queen's Castle as a 4 of down here. And this is kind of the impetus for building this deck. I felt like the Queen's Castle is the best location, and I wanted to try to build a deck that maximizes the Queen's Castle because I think that it has the potential to just absolutely take over games, especially in the late game. And so I think that a purple steel list like this has the best character-based tools and removal-based tools to keep your opponent off the board so that you can slam a Queen's Castle and just take over the game with it. And in my experience, it has absolutely worked that way. This card is crazy, crazy good. It's not amazing in every matchup. Obviously, against decks that have Maui, this can be pretty awkward. Against something like a Fox Mim, it can also be pretty awkward. But overall, it's just a very, very strong card. And yeah, I think this deck is pretty good. There's probably room for improvements. I know a lot of the numbers here are a little bit wonky, although I think that's just kind of the nature of the game at this point. In Lorcana, with all these inkables, you can play weird numbers, and that lets you get a really varied hand of 7 cards, and then you can sort of choose the 2-drop that's good in the matchup and ink the 2-drop that's bad in the matchup. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more decks play 2s and 3s, and sometimes, 1-ofs instead of just 4-ofs all the way across the board. But yeah, that's the deck, and let's play some games. All right, up against some Amber Steel, likely a wheel deck, could be some sort of Tiana deck. And I have seen some more mid-rangey versions popping up here and there. I don't hate what we've got going on here. I'm going to ship Sad Beast. I think kind of keep everything else. The Queen's Castle actually ends up being pretty strong against them some of the time because they have a hard time clearing it. So I like keeping it here. I also like that Fox Mim as well. Plenty of options here. Of these ones with this hand, I actually think I'd rather have Captain Hook. Gets through Simba / Kita. Whereas Robin Hood does not without a shift, and I don't have the shift currently. Cinderella, yeah. Seems like a good reason to pick it up, if you ask me. Now next turn I might just be hard casting Friends on the other side, even though it's not super important just because they're likely to wheel, but it's not really a whole lot of value in picking up Snake Mim for a Fox Mim. Don't really want to replay Captain Hook. That I might play, though. Yeah. I know they can shift. I like this, actually. This gets me on the board. And if I can get a huge, overpowering board presence, I can get a lot of value off this Queen's Castle. I have ways to draw cards, too, so it's not super risky. Mistress Me just does a lot of work, especially with a Captain Hook in play. Definitely one of the best cards, I think, in the new set. It's going to be seeing play in Steel decks for a long time to come. Like, even without any captains, just being a 3/3 body that quests for 2 inkable 2-drop is just a crazy stat line, right? So if you have no captains, it's sort of like a 3/2 or a 3/1, but it quests for 2. I mean, that's still just nuts to me. Like, in an aggro deck, this card's amazing. Okay, Gaston. And nothing else. Alright. Well. They may wheel me next turn, but so be it. We get to apply pressure. We have a pretty good board presence. One Grab Your Sword doesn't totally knock us out. I like where we're at. Obviously, they can still shift Robin Hood. But if they don't wheel and they start turning stuff sideways, we've got Foxman. If they don't put pressure on, we've got a 5-drop and the Queen's Castle as options. Feels pretty good here. All right. Not a bad one, but still just a 1-for-1, and we got to quest with that. You know, I think just hard casting, that's pretty good. It prevents shift onto Cinderella, which I really like. That's one thing that we might have trouble dealing with, is if they shift onto the Cinderella. Just cutting that option off seems pretty good to me. And I think that's the least important card in our hand, in part because this is a threat that attacks another axis, and this draws us cards pretty consistently. Now we can just quest with everything. I like this spot. Yeah, okay, good, good. Glad to have played the grab your sword for sure. I think, you know, it would have been greedy, right? We had the option of trying to play the Robin Hood and then singing it the next turn, but it's super greedy when they can shift onto something that Steel decks tend to have a tough time dealing with in this Cinderella. All right, and I'm happy with that trade. Because now this Queen's Castle is going to take over the game. Yep. Their deck just has almost no way of dealing with this. A little bit slow. Ooh, second Queen's Castle. Don't mind if I do. Certainly don't need to draw any more cards. I'll pick something up. I guess the Captain Hook, just because it does less damage to the Robin Hood, but okay. I got a nice win there, not bad. All right, on the draw versus Zefa on green steel. All right, this should be fun. Don't know if he's playing mill or a mid-range deck. He was doing some funny Robin Hood stuff before. I really need a 1-drop. It's okay. I'm going to keep these 3, ship everything else. Okay, that'll work. That 2-drop will be fine. Do have an awkwardly high number of uninkables, but if we can get to 4 ink, we'll be okay. Right, let's ink the 6 for now. Thanks. What? Thanks for what? Rise of the Titans. Yep. Okay, yeah, there's the Robin Hood, as previously mentioned. If he shoots this, I'll probably trade my Smee for it. Ooh. I'm gonna shoot one of these. Just so I can, like, play things in the future. If I quest, he could shift. Do I hate that? It's not the worst, but I don't think I need to do that yet. Ba-boom. Okay, that's annoying. I'm gonna put the Jafar in play just to threaten this Daisy Duck. And now I'm gonna quest with Mr. Smee. Ugh. That's a pretty good one. Awkwardly strong against Mr. Smee. let's see if he quests with anything here. He can quest with Robin Hood to get this back and shoot Mr. Smee down. But obviously Jafar can take anything out. But then Jafar's damage on it for the bow. Alright. Straw card. Kind of not a huge fan of that, but it's alright. I'll quest here. They could now shift Robin Hood, then shoot this. That's not so bad, though. Obviously, Mr. Smee can die at any time. Could have considered questing there, but I wanted to make it awkward if they wanted to deal damage here. Okay, I'm gonna shoot this. Yeah, draw a card. Of these, the beast kind of makes the Queen's Castle a little bit awkward. Wish I had a way to sing Grab Your Sword, that's for sure. Ooh, okay, that's pretty good. In tandem, those can start going pretty crazy. If Daisy Duck quests, I'm trying to figure out if I'm discarding Grab Your Sword or Merlin. I don't think Merlin's that important, but it is inkable. It's going to be hard to get both of these out of my hand. Alright, that's pretty nice. Yeah. I discard the Merlin, I think. Just because I know I'm going to use one of these next turn. I start here so I can see what I draw. Definitely hard casting this Grab Your Sword, though. We can ink a Rise of Titans. Pass. Obviously, Merlin is down here, but that's okay. We get a card out of it. I'm hoping they don't have another beast. That would kind of be the worst case scenario. Herc, annoying, but beatable. Draw a card. Draw another card. I'll put this in play. Grab Your Sword would be good here, but that's okay. I feel like there were other turns where it also would have been good. Oh, Tinkerbell's so good with Robin's bow. Replay. Yeah, well, I'll just replay it again. Or bounce it again. Alright. They've got to find a way to deal damage to these characters. Obviously another Tinkerbell would be really good. Grab Your Sword would be really good, but we've got a bunch of cards. Should be able to find a way out of this, I think. Alright, so that gets those characters. Mr. Smee. I can grab your sword, smash, to get the Tinkerbell off. This Queen's Castle is not great just because of the Herc. I'm going to put a Mr. Smee in play just to threaten to remove their other Hercules. Oh my god. That's so good. It's alright, we've got time, we've got time. It's just annoying that that kills my character and cantrips. I'll start by drawing 2 this time. Okay, draw 1 more. That's a good one. And I will trade with this Herc. Just to buy time. The next turn should be pretty good. I can shoot this down and then have other plays as well. Ugh. Why? Okay, let's start here. Pick it back up. All right. Deal 5/3 and pass. I don't think I need much more ink at this point. Draw. Beast. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're going to play the Queen's Castle, shoot down this Herc, and pass. No need to lose this Robin Hood, or this Madam Mim to Robin Hood. Oh my god. All these Hercs. They're so big. Yeah, I think I have to take this out. Otherwise I lose. Yep. Beast. Tink. And Smee. I do just want all the characters in play. I'm less worried about the cards at this point. I just don't have the luxury. Well, he's at this much lore. Just please don't have an answer for my Tinkerbell. If Smee plus Tinkerbell can take out Hercules, then this grab your sword plus 2 damage from Tink can likely take out what they play. Hopefully I can draw a card here. No, that's so annoying too. Oh, okay. Instead of taking out my beast, I guess they're going to do that. That makes sense, actually. Yeah. Yeah, right. It's not good, but it's a play. Say go. Stop. Alright, that was a good draw. Let's find removal, please. Removal is what we need. Beast isn't horrible, but let's just draw more cards. Alright. No more threats, no more threats, no more threats. All removal. Boo. That's a threat. And a good one. They should not shoot my Merlin, I think. You had to shot something else. It's not gonna another draw toward an answer. And we're dead. So close. Good game. All right. Blue Fairy Midrange versus Emerald Amber. Likely some sort of discardy aggro deck is my assumption, but we will see. Okay, I like this 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to keep one Snake Mim just in case. But I think that's going to be what I ink here. Actually, inking one of my 4s seems like a good strategy. Since I have 3 of them. Curious what songs they're playing to justify Cinderella in that deck. I feel like Bare Necessities wouldn't make it worth it. Mother Knows Best, maybe? Be Our Guest? I don't know. If I was playing those, I wouldn't play Cinderella in my deck. Yeah, strike a good match. Just none of this is just... I don't know. Inkasme. Can draw off Jafar next turn. Jafar should go a long way towards shutting down any aggro they might have. Although, admittedly, their start has not been that aggressive so far. Pluto. Okay, that's annoying. I don't have a smash for that, unfortunately. Luckily, I'm just not that scared of the songs they could have. Definitely going to ink this Rise of Titans so they can't, I don't know, get it with the Bare Necessities or whatever. Not that I think that that's what they'd do. Given that they'd seen my hand. Well, that's annoying. I'm just going to sing it right away. Okay. Another blue fairy. Alright. They want to spend their Ursula to take out a 2/2. That's a trade I will take any day since Ursula's scary. Yeah. Perfect. Even if they have a Rapunzel, don't care. Happy to get Ursula off the board. Yeah, my opponent's just... they're in a tough spot because they're so far behind on tempo here. We get the draw card here. Ooh. It's kind of neat. So, I kind of like that. Okay, we can pick up this Jafar. Take this Ursula out. And now we have 2 blue fairies in play. So we're just going to draw a million cards off these Jafars. Like, even if they keep playing Rapunzels, that's not going to be enough for them to keep up. Yeah, we'll discard 1 action. No problem. It's not that great here anyway. Can't sing it. Alright, let's draw 2. Not bad. Not a whole lot of interest in trading a blue fairy for Rapunzel, especially when I'm so far ahead on tempo. Let's just apply the pressure. I mean, they have no sweepers. That's the nice thing about playing against decks with no sweepers, is that once you rest board control, you can kind of just play more and more threats with impunity. We do have another action to discard here to the Bibbidi Bobbidi Lucifer, so that's not too bad. Even if we didn't, though, we're just so far ahead. Like, if we could just keep the Jafar, I mean, that represents 2 cards and another threat on its own. Discard 1 action. Alright, now I will take out this Rapunzel, because we get a card out of it. Draw 2 more. Yeah, I like Smash. I guess the most scary thing they have is Ariel. Even that's not super scary, though. Alright, and we take it down. So yeah, that's the deck, and I do think that Purple Steel Midrange is also a contender for one of the best decks in the metagame, along with the Jafar version of the deck. I think that it feels really good against the aggro decks, especially, you know, the Tiana decks and the Amber Steel Wheel decks. Feels pretty good against the Emerald Steel Ursula decks as well. I think the one deck that I've played a lot that it kind of seems to struggle against is the Ruby Amethyst deck. Having the location removal in the deck now improves the matchup a little bit, but it does feel a little bit unfavored. So how good this deck is will probably depend a little bit on whether or not that matchup can be improved and how common that matchup is in the metagame. But overall, I definitely think it's a pretty good deck, and yeah, give it a try. And thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.